Guys, we're in a pyramid tomb. Not a pyramid tomb, we're in a tomb. Welcome back. Last time we barely scratched the surface of Luxor's epic history. In this vlog, we're getting straight to it. Okay, to get there, we must go in a mobile chariot. Woo! We're on our way to see the temple that Queen Hatshepsut built. And then we'll go deep into the underworld and finally top off with a bit of nerdy science behind mummification. Let's go! After the death of her husband, Hatshepsut made a bold move for the throne. She declared the gods had commanded her to take charge, sending her stepson, the rightful heir, off to war. Claiming divine approval, she crowned herself Pharaoh, adopting the full royal titles. To solidify her rule and earn the respect of the people, she dressed in men's clothing and even wore the iconic false beard of the pharaohs. Though much of her legacy was erased by her successor, who literally chiseled her image from temples. Yep, she was probably here. She's been removed. She's all carved out, even though she's being coronated between two of the gods. And who would dare carve out those gods? What Remains tells a story of a visionary woman who dared to rewrite the rules and seize her destiny. During her reign, she created peace over Egypt. She had actually one of the biggest, most peaceful times ruling Egypt. And lore has it, she was in love with her architect. Her architect is buried right next to her, which is pretty awesome. So we're gonna go see where this woman who ruled in a man's world and was in love with the nerdy guy all was about. So this all used to be lined by lions, but they fell down in an earthquake and they were destroyed by her successor because he didn't want any of her memory to be left. The last remaining original statue. We're walking up to one of the side temples in this awe-inspiring complex. The queen walked here. I'm walking in the Queen King's steps. While Hatshepsut built this temple as a place to prepare her for mummification, during her lifetime, it served as one of the many sites where she honored the gods. Look at this, it's like Tetris. To cement her legacy as one of Egypt's most ambitious rulers. As you approach, you can almost feel the weight of history, the echoes of ancient prayers and rituals still lingering in the air, carrying the whispers of a civilization that once ruled the Nile. Okay, now one thing about ancient Egypt is that they were super into trying to build up their kingdom. So what they did, they explored Africa. They went to different parts. So I'm going to show you this whole story of when they brought the palm tree to Egypt. Queen H is known for bringing the palm tree to Egypt, as we can see right here. So this is the whole journey, the story of her whole journey when she's going down into Africa to bring back the journey. Now, one thing they noticed whenever they were in Africa is over here, we see the first case of documented elephantitis in history. So they found people who had that deep in Africa. And then we have over here a giraffe. They brought giraffes back into Egypt. How cool. And then they brought all sorts of other plants and water buffaloes. And one of the things I'd like is that we got a plaque, a plaque. It took them 40 years to restore this temple to what we see today. And I think it's pretty cool that we have other universities coming down here to help out to restore this really old stuff. I mean, look at all these kids who are now able to enjoy seeing old stuff from their history. Like, that's incredible. Okay. So these are the last remaining statues that you can see have been repaired really well of Hatshepsut. The rest have been destroyed by people, well, mainly her hater in an earthquake. Look at that arch. Now we're going to the most holy place in this temple, where the queen would have worshipped, and maybe her most beloved architect. Oh, look at all of these. Scarab. I have a traffic jam going into the room to see Queen Hatshepsut's mummification table. Yeah! There's large amounts of traffic today. So in this place, the early Christians also put a lot of graffiti. Okay, we're going. While this was one of the holiest sites for the ancient Egyptians, early Christians later transformed it into their own sacred space. If you look closely, though it's hard to capture on camera, you can spot Coptic crosses and images carefully chiseled over pagan carvings. It's a fascinating layer of history where two religions intersect in the very same walls. Outside this temple, I need to show you one of the last remaining cartouches of Queen Hatshepsut. Really glad they kept it, because I've kind of been wanting to see this. So let's put on protection glasses and go see. So here we have one of the last remaining cartouches of Queen Hatshepsut. Look at all of that. This would have been an offering table over here. You would just plop your offerings on that. The gods would take it, maybe by form of bird or by snake or by animal. This is the altar where Hatshepsut not only worshipped the gods during her reign, but also where her body was prepared for mummification after her death. It's both a place of devotion and a deeply personal connection to her journey into the afterlife, embodying her dual legacy as a powerful ruler and a mortal seeking eternity. Next to the mummification table is my favorite part, the temple to Hathor. Inside this temple, dedicated to Hathor. Now, Hathor is my favorite god. Oh. So she was the god of happiness and of joy and of celebration, singing, music, dance. Because you are my dancing queen. Look how cool this is. We have her happy face, and she has cow ears. Why does she have cow ears? Because when she's pictured, she's put as an image of a cow with a moon on her head. But this is what happiness looked like, the Temple of Happiness for the ancient Egyptians. And today the birds are enjoying it, so that's cool. Number 10, you and me. Kind of, maybe. We can see where archaeologists are laying out the pieces, and they're going to continue to restore and put the temple back together. But they look for pieces that match, they number the pieces. In the temple, we can see some numbers here. Okay, now it's finally time to go into the underworld and see some of these beautiful tombs. Now there's 69 kings that we know are buried here. During their rule, kings would personally commission and design their tombs, meaning the longer a king reigned, the more elaborate and grand the tomb would be. But if a king died unexpectedly, the tomb would often remain unfinished, as there was only an 80-day window from the time of death until the body had to be placed inside. From this 3D map, you can see the intricate engineering that went into planning. Architects carefully designed each tomb to ensure they wouldn't accidentally intersect with another, creating a labyrinth of an eternal resting place beneath the Valley of Kings. Okay, now Ramses II is all over Egypt. The most statues of him are built. And we have his tomb right in front of us. It's the most, it's the most notorious tomb in the whole area. And it's right here. Vroom. Stonked. Why is it closed? Because you have to be a VIP or someone with a lot of money like Mr. Musk or Mr. Zuckerberg or someone famous. Apparently it's the best, most decorated tomb of all of here, and why wouldn't it be? He loved himself. Of course he's going to decorate his tomb the most. Who knows what goes down there? Maybe secret government meetings, maybe spy stuff. Maybe the best parties in Egypt are held in the tomb of Ramses II. So let's go see some more of these really cool tombs of the last warrior king of Egypt, Ramses IV. Okay, so now we're descending into the chamber. Now all of this would have been built around Ramses' time. And one of the perks about burying the kings here was that it was safe from flooding of the Nile River and that it was warm, so their bodies would be mummified forever. Duckson! So there were 6 different crews who would build these chambers. Architects meticulously designed the tomb layouts, ensuring they wouldn't intersect with others. Stonecutters carved deep into the solid rock, while laborers hauled away the debris to clear the space. Painters and sculptors transformed the walls into these breathtaking works of art, and toolmakers ensured both the stonecutters and artists have the best tools for the job. And of course, scribes were there to document every step of the process, capturing the incredible effort that went into creating these eternal resting places. And then after that, you have some high priests come in and bless it. Okay, we're walking down to the burial chamber. Now this is the biggest sarcophagus in all of the Valley of the Kings. Dude, that thing's massive. Yeah. All around the burial chamber, the walls were intricately painted and decorated with stories of his life and offerings and celebrations for the gods. And yes, this is original paint. Now this is where all of the treasure would have been buried. You know, if Indiana Jones didn't come and was he a grave robber? If some grave robber didn't come and grave rob it. Just look at the detail in these. And that blue ceiling. This is original, you guys. Oh, we got some numbers up here. Maybe it's counting how he lived or sacrifices he made, or calendar or something. So this tomb is 2 years old. This is what people could build in 2 years. It's incredible. So the early Christians also hid in here, and we can see a lot of Coptic graffiti. So right here, where it's showing the sarcophagus, we have some Coptic graffiti on there. Not only did this place house kings, but a lot of the early Christians just hid down here. Some more graffiti here. Dachshund, the best one ever. Okay, now we're gonna go see a tomb of someone who ruled for 18 years. Thank you. So during his lifetime, he built this tomb, but then one day he died suddenly. So they had to quickly finish the tomb. Now on the outside, we can see really deep, ooh, look, treasure room, treasure. We can see really deep carvings and engravings. Treasure room. I want treasure. Boink. Okay, up here in these little cubby holes, all of his little blue men would sit and just await him as he would come in the afterlife. All of these little guys were the king's servants. Now, they didn't die with him, but what they did, they all made little statues of themselves. And on the inscriptions, you can see in here, they wrote how they could help the king in the afterlife. So maybe someone to bring him water, someone to rub his feet, someone to make him snacks, someone to make his bed. The king would have everything. Blue men, to my assistance, please. Look how detailed that stuff is. Lots of numbers and star signs and counting. I'm told there's aliens on the ceiling here, so I'm looking for them. Look for aliens with me. Alien. Alien. Here we have the god of Ibis, who died 1,000,000 times. And each time he died, his wife cried on him, and her magical powers given to her by Ra brought him back to life. But one time, his penis was chopped off. Bonk. And he couldn't get that back, so he decided to die because...
What's the point of living if you don't have a dick?
What's life worth living without a dick? And you can see in here, this is when he died. It's just very quickly finished. You just see some paintings here instead of the deep engravings. And then they would send him down here, down the chute. So the god of death welcomes us to the mummification process. So in order to mummify a dude, a person, they sat them in salt for like 50 days. So basically they salt cured the body. And then they use all of these tools, chink, 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 to take out the lungs and the liver and the intestines and the stomach. I had to read this sign. And the stomach. And then they put all of those in these little jars. Now we're missing one. We're missing the brain. Well, they thought the brain was the center of all evil, and really it is. So they got rid of the brain because they wanted to give the body the best chance for the most baller afterlife. And take a look at this. The science and engineering that the ancient Egyptians had was surreal. This body is like 5,000 years old. That's incredible. That just a little bit of science and engineering could go this far. Now I want to show you something else in this museum. So crocodiles were a god, and there was a temple for them. Look, they mummified a crocodile. I don't know if it has a great afterlife, but it's mummified. Now, whenever they were doing all of their stuff to the body, they would put the body on this bed thingy, and they would let it sit and salt cure and bake. After it finished salt curing for 40 or 50 days, the body stink. It was dead. So what they ended up doing was putting a bunch of perfume oils on it. They didn't wash it. They just covered up the smell with more perfume. And then they would wrap it, and then more perfume, and wrap it, and more perfume. And finally, of course, put it in a box that had a lot of pretty decorations and cartouches on it and masks on it. And the mask would tell the god of the afterlife whose body it was, because that's how you tell who it is. Now you know. Just final burial chamber. Next to him would sit all of his treasure. Wow, this is really cool to see how the engineering was actually done. Okay, now we're gonna go into a tomb. It's the deepest one here, but we can't go into all of it because it's being restored. So we're gonna go see half of it. But this dude ruled for 31 years. So it's like half of the amount of time that Ramses II ruled. And this tomb has something very exciting about it that you need to stay watching for. Okay, now check this out. So we have beautiful yellow paint that's still here. And then all of these tiny, perfectly carved symbols. And you can see his name there. Bunka, 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 bunka. Duxon, 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 Duxon. Duxon. That should be a song. Now in this room would have been all sorts of treasure, just lining both sides of it. Exclamation point. These are images of the enemies, and you can tell because the enemies have their hands tied and their heads are missing. Look at that. Now just think how awesome it'd be to be one of the grave robbers down here. Down here for the first time after it had been sealed. There may have been gold on the floor, or some sort of gems or jewels. Walking into the burial chamber was an extremely special experience. One thing I really appreciated about it is that everyone gave everyone else personal time. Now this burial chamber is super rare because the headstone of the person that was buried here still exists. Check this out. That's where he would have just rested as he floated away to the afterlife. The afterlife, it's such a curious thing. Purple rain, purple rain. Okay, now we're descending down the treacherous steps to the tomb of the most infamous, the most Western famous king in ancient Egypt, Mr. King Tut. Now, Mr. King Tut became king when he was 9 years old, ruled for 9 years, and ended up dying because his chariot ran into a rock, and he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. So he tumbled out of the chariot, broke his leg, and likely died from complications, from breaking a leg. We know that because he was buried with crutches down here. So we're gonna go see the tomb that took 9 years to build. Now this is the only tomb that we found with actual treasure inside it. Mr. Tut. So much sand had blown over this tomb, and it took them over 5 years to find it. And the dude who found it robbed the grave. He stole something. We still haven't found what he stole. But this was a tiny little tomb for King Tut, who died on his chariot. You can tell it's kind of built very rapidly. There's a treasury down here that we can't. And after that, I was told I could not use my camera to record, so here's a nice little cell phone montage of the very humble tomb of King Tut. After visiting the Valley of the Kings, we took a quick little drive to the other side, to the Valley of the Queens. Now, the Valley of the Queens is where a lot of the queens and nobles are buried, and there's hundreds of graves in this area. Many haven't been discovered yet. How cool would it be to be an archaeologist in this area? There's so many things being uncovered. Tomb of Titty. Who doesn't like a little tasteful side boob? Woo! This is awesome. Look at all these rocks. It really reminds me of the time that I had in Wadi Rum. So cool. Okay, let's go down into our first tomb in the Valley of Queens. Now this was actually built for a son of a king who died. So not necessarily a queen. So this guy kept following me throughout the entire tomb, which, not gonna lie, was kind of creepy. But after spending a couple of weeks in Egypt, you sort of get used to the occasional random shadowing. But the weird part, he stopped following me the moment I reached the final room. Coincidence? Maybe, but it definitely added a whole new layer of mystery to the experience. Okay, I'm gonna show you how little this is. So we gotta walk like a duck. We're gonna go see the sarcophagus. Oh, I guess I don't need to walk like a duck. Okay, this room is as tall as me. So we can see the sarcophagus. And the reason his face looks like his real face, or the face of the sarcophagus looks like his real face, is because they had to match up the face with the gods whenever the gods would come back. So that's why they wore masks. So then the gods knew who to come and give a great afterlife to. So this is what you would get if you died as a king's son whenever you were at a very young age. How cool would it be to discover this, like to be the first one down here before they had to put up protection glass. Given a high five to death. Okay, now this one is from a lady who got jealous she wasn't the favorite wife. So she killed Ramses. And in return, the people killed her. And okay, this experience was even creepier. This guy followed me the entire time, talking loudly in Arabic and completely ruining my video. No idea why, but hey, all part of the adventure, right? Now here's the wild part about this tomb. Even though the queen literally killed the king, she still got a royal burial. In ancient Egypt, you could be the absolute worst, but the respect and honor for the afterlife, that was next level and never disrespected. They took eternity very seriously. Okay, now we're gonna go into another son of a king tomb. There is an entrance here, but maybe that's a false entrance. So we're gonna go try a different entrance. Like the other tombs in the Valley of Queens, this one was absolutely incredible. But honestly, I'm not sure why they put up the plexiglass. It kind of takes away from the glamour of the space. I guess it's to protect the walls from people who might not be super respectful, which makes sense. What I really appreciated about the Valley of the Queens, though, was how empty it was when I visited. The serenity, the spookiness, and yeah, even the creepiness of being followed gave the whole place a hauntingly authentic vibe. It really felt like stepping back into ancient Egypt. Now along here, like, look at all these other tombs. They're just down here. I kind of wished I had an archaeologist friend
who would take me into some of these. I would love to see one that's maybe not as pretty as the ones we've been seeing, but just more like, I don't know, what some of the other ones look like. It's incredible, this stuff for over 5,000 years. Structures are still holding. You can see like a trail. It comes up here, it goes up more, and then it goes up the side of the mountain, where there's probably even more graves. Wow, that's quite a lot. Now we're at the Colossus of Memnon right now.
This was once the grand entrance to another king's mortuary temple, but these two colossal statues stand tall, defying time and nature.
Ah. No, it's good. We're at the Colossus of Memnon right now. And it's called that because this dude cries in the morning. But really it's just wind that blows through. And it makes him sound like he's crying. Now allegedly Hadrian, the Roman emperor, who built the wall way up in the UK, also came down here. And he found this thing incredible. I think it's pretty impressive that Hadrian's traveled literally more than me, and he's been around for 2,000 years. So this was the entrance to a massive temple. And if this is just the entrance, imagine how big it would have been back there. I mean, these guys are huge. See me? Colossi. Huge. Wow.
Now, right next to the impressive Colossus of Memnon lies a fascinating palace built by Ramses III. Now, Ramses III had some pretty big sandals to fill. His father, the narcissistic influencer Ramses II, had already carved his name into pretty much every corner of Egypt. But Ramses III had a different plan. Instead of trying to outshine his dad, he went full Machiavellian, crafting a more calculated and strategic legacy. The clues to his approach? Well, they're hidden deep within this palace.
Now we're gonna go explore the palace for Ramses III. Dude, the engineering that must have gone down was epic. Oh, we have Sparkle Wall. Okay, we're gonna start our tour in the Holy of Holies. So the thing about Ramses III, he followed his granddad, I think, Ramses II. Ramses II took all of the cartouches off the walls and just made them his. Ramses III wanted to drill it deep, where that wasn't even possible. He wanted to show everybody his legacy. So if they wanted to change it, they would have to rip it down. So this is the best standing temple that we have left. And here you can see how deep everything is carved.
Ramses III had a genius move to secure his legacy. He carved his cartouche so deep into the stone that it was virtually impossible for any successor to chisel it away. To erase his name, they'd have to destroy the entire building itself. It was a brilliant way to ensure his name would endure for eternity, no matter who came after him.
Maybe this would have been an altar room. This would have been built up with all sorts of colors on the walls. Probably pictures of Ramses and his daughters who turned into his wives, doing stuff, celebrating the gods. Why is this fly wanting to come with me? He didn't pay for the ticket. Trying to sneak in. Let's go see what this one is looking like.
Note the tiny little fence here.
Oh, we have tiny little windows. Cool.
So these scammers would set up these fake fences inside the temple and charge you around $10 just to go into a room. And if you didn't want to pay, well, congratulations! You just earned yourself a personal stalker for the rest of your visit. Oh, the joys of being a tourist.
Look at this little altar. So in the most holy of holy places, it would be the high priest and Ramses himself who would just come in here and do their things. This was not for anyone else. Maybe the cleaners. How did they keep it clean? Okay, I think Ramses, the high priest, and the magical cleaners that cleaned it. Because, ooh, that's a sick photo. I wanted to show you this wall. Check out this wall. Look at all of those. Look, we have a little secret passageway. What would this be? Maybe some altars or some storage? Look at the little hole. There's some priests doing eternal life and giving some offerings. Maybe they're not priests, maybe they're just like people, you know. Yeah. Yeah. The hustle is strong. Now these are the scientists doing some building and renovation and finding new things maybe. That's how this stuff stays in such good shape. With these engineers doing engineering. Okay, now we're in the palace, the room that celebrated all of his kids. All of his kids are on the walls here. His sons and his daughters. And the colors are still so rich. The ceilings are intact. The construction of this palace is incredible, withstanding thousands of years, plus 2 giant earthquakes. And we can still see magical offering up there. Now over here we can see it's like dark. It looks like something's been burned there and up in the ceiling. And that's because back in the day, the early Christians hid out here and they just used this area as the kitchen. So yeah, kind of destroy the art, you guys. Come on. I mean, look at this. We can see giant statue of Ramses III. It was carved after his death. We see that with his crossed arms and his feet together in the dead man position. But look at that. Ship on a wall. Row, row, row your boat in the Nile River. Check this out. Giant Ramses. Getting a hit from the happy pie. Okay, no, it's just incense, but getting a hit from the happy pie. Woo! Party in the club. Now we're in the hall of Ramses. So all along here were statues of Ramses. And you can see they've kind of fallen. But on the right and left-hand side, you have his daughters. Okay, so back in the day, the architects still made mistakes. They forgot that they needed to put a door here. So like this is where the door would have put for the temple, these 2 bunka bunk. So over here, we didn't have Control-Z or Photoshop to undo what they did. So they had to redo Ramses. They had to take him out and put him back in, the whole diagram. Because the artists forgot about the door. And that's why in all good things, you need a balance of art and engineering. Otherwise, you have to Control-Z or Gen AI Photoshop edit Ramses out of the wrong place and put him in the right place. So yeah, that's our time here in Luxor. Hope you enjoyed it, because I sure did. I learned so much. I now have a desire to go see another of the ancient wonders of the old world. So let's go find an airplane and maybe go to Turkey. Ciao.